you're Justin Thorne, CEO of Algorhythm, and right, tell me if this is correct, but like an SEO PPC paid agency.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
So, and I do have to confess, for years, because I've known you for quite a few years now, and I think I was calling it Algorhythm rather than Algorhythm, which to everyone listening won't make sense, but there is a difference. So I want you to, first of all, introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about you, how you got into what you're doing, and a bit about the business and the name and things like that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Alex. It's good to be here. But yeah, you're right. The algorithm, I kind of made it difficult for myself by trying to be clever with the word algorithm. So obviously we're used to algorithms in terms of machine learning and everything else. I spelt it algorithm as in rhythm guitar playing. And my idea was left brain, right brain. Algo is the left brain, rhythm is the right brain, which is the sort of emotions and human nervous system. Because I've always been fascinated with behavioral economics and neuromarketing, and that was the original play for Algorhythm, was to be a neuromarketing digital agency. But I could just see our customers' eyes glazing over as I started talking about neuromarketing. So sort of relegated it to, look, it's our approach to multivariate testing. You know, we have these behavioral economics tools that we can use to write copy six different ways, infinite different ways, rather than just knowing we have to write, different versions of ad copy. So that was where Algorhythm came from. But yeah, we focus on paid channels and SEO, and I'm a working CEO like you are. You know, I wish I could swan around and just go to Soho House and pitch to clients, but I actually have to be on the tools as well. And my area is SEO. That's my particular interest area. And of course, recently that has to include AI tools, LLMs, ChatGPT, and Gemini. So it's unraveling that nuanced, new sort of snake oil and trying to sort of navigate that world. Yeah.
The amount of emails and sort of overwhelming amount of new systems that are all basically, when you look back into them, running off 2 or 3 different systems or LLMs. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think, I find it really interesting when you've chatted about the neuromarketing and the behavior stuff. And I know what you mean is, like, if you try and go into that and talk to people about it, they'll just sort of glaze over. So it's the classic thing of trying to come more outcome based, of like, this is why it's a good thing. Don't worry about it, but this is why it's a good thing. And I guess ultimately it just massively brings up engagement and click through rates and everything like that, because you're targeting the right people. So one thing, I don't know if you want to go into it, is like, what was the bear lion? Is it bear lion?
Monkey, lion, dog. Yeah. You added a bear somewhere in there. Yeah. That was, invented by a friend of ours, Daryl Scott.
Yeah.
Who's my mentor and your mentor.
Yeah.
In a way.
Daryl Scott.
Yeah, the great Dr. Daryl Scott, as we jokingly call him. But he it's a metaphor really for intrinsic motives, and there's 3 broad motives that gets us all out of bed in the morning, and we tend to be one of those 3. So your monkey is contextual and driven by external forces and their part in the world. They're the typical, says one podcaster to another, the guy that wants to be the center of attention, and when they walk in a room they want everyone to listen to them. That's your typical monkey, but they're driven by legacy and things like that. Your lion is about mastery and perfection, and is driven by internal sort of motives. And then your dog, which is an unfortunate one, but it's driven by connections and teamwork and being part of something. And what's fascinating about that is, if you understand people's intrinsic motives, you understand their greatest fears. So your monkey has a fear of being ignored, or FOMO. Your lion has a fear of failure, and your dog has a fear of not being liked, a people pleaser. When you understand that, you can write copy to tap into those intrinsic motives, and that's your multivariate test right there. Write an ad, and it's fascinating. So you made a mistake asking me about this, Alex, but we did a campaign for it was a sort of accountancy software, but like a Xero or something like that, pretty dull. and the target audience is accountants, which arguably are pretty dull. I'm not saying they are, but you know, in the sexy world of marketing, a platform for accountants is probably not what gets you out of bed in the morning. But you know, the client felt, oh, all of our clients are lions. Absolutely, they're all accountants, right? They're all analytical, left-brained. And we said, well, broadly in a room, they'll actually be split in three ways. So, and I wasn't part of this research. I'm kind of stealing the case study. But the research team started talking to their actual customers, and they found a subgroup of finance people that lived for the relationships. They loved being on the phone, and interestingly, they ended up getting paid early, not even on time, by their sort of, you know, vendors. So it was fascinating, and they ran a campaign. You know, the multivariate ad copy for the dogs was how to make friends and invoice people, and that outperformed all of the other campaigns by like 5-1 or some crazy metric. So it's genuinely true, and all you do, obviously, you can't define in your targeting. This is only because Daryl made it up and we use it, but this is only for monkeys. Of course, you're going to show the whole market those three ads, but what's remarkable is this incredible uplift in engagement and click-through rates, which is half the job. But then you can follow through. You know, if someone has clicked on a monkey ad, then your landing page can be written for those intrinsic motives as well. So it's really fascinating. And we spent 5 years playing with that stuff and experimenting, and it was pretty staggering.
I think it's really interesting, that sort of behavioural and the A and B testing, because you can do it to a certain extent, but with obviously PR and marketing, you've got to just push one out. If you're doing releases or you're pitching, you've got one chance. So it's not something that we can always do as effectively. You know, you can sort of see what's working, go back, review. But obviously, when you're running live campaigns and you can run 3 or 4 with different copy and see how they sort of work, it's really interesting. He made me laugh the other day. What was the story? And I'm going to have to try and get Daryl on one of these because, as you said, he's just brilliant. And for anyone who hasn't...
Is it the razor blades? The razor blades. Yeah. The first time I met Daryl,
it was the "Can we play" or something. He said.
Yeah, I was running the performance marketing team in an agency, and Daryl had became an agency owner in that business, and sort of hovered over my desk one day and said, "Oh, you know, let's play," and that kind of annoyed me straight away. I was like, "Who's this guy?" And I came from the ad tech world, so it was all about left brain, logical. It's algorithms of the future, which I still believe, obviously, but he was like, "Well, let's work together on one of your clients," and I was being a bit of an arsehole by picking a client we just sort of plugged into some optimization software and brought their cost per acquisition down from like 12.50 to 7 or 8 quid, which was remarkable for them. It was a razor blade business, so they're making £1 on a pack of blades, right? They was selling Mac 3 and Wilkinson sword replaceable blades. So it's a volume game. It's a subscription game. They needed someone to be a customer for a year to really start making any money out of them, unless they started buying gels and sort of, grooming products as well. Anyway, I was being a bit horrible, a bit mean by saying, okay, let's see how your neuromarketing works for these guys, knowing we kind of hit a ceiling in the performance, or so I thought. And he said, right, let's go out. Let's go out to Soho. I said, what are you talking about? My computer's here. I'm like, I was very sort of cynical, I think is the correct term. And anyway, we went out to Soho, and he was like, we're going to talk to men on camera. If they are happy, we make sure they shave, And my beard was huge at the time, so I was the worst poster boy for Mac 3 at the time. And we were first, the fascinating thing was guys were quite happy getting into the conversation with these 2 weirdos that wanted to film them to talk about buying Mac 3 blades. And there's a couple of fascinating things that came from the discussions. The first was no one had a clue how much these blades were, So we were selling them for £12.95 for a pack of 8 Gillette Mac 3 blades. And no one had a clue. They were not even close. One guy thought they were 50 quid for 8 Mac 3s. One guy thought they were 2 quid, but no one kind of really
Yeah.
knew what they were spending. We were like, you buy these every month. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you put them in your shopping cart every month.
Yeah.
Yep. You have no idea how much they are. And then what's really interesting is they were all annoyed at how expensive they were and all felt they were getting ripped off,
Yeah.
even though they didn't know how much they were. So,
Yeah.
this went on for a couple of hours, and then we kind of went back to our desks, and he was like, right, so here's the game. Here's the nudges we can play with here. The first is no one knows how much they are. So we need to anchor the value. Your ads at the moment, very sort of clinical, what you'd expect in a PPC ad. So, 8 Mac 3 blades, £12.95, fast free delivery,
Yeah.
that's great, but no one knows if £12.95 is a good deal. So we need to anchor the value. If we can tap into the sort of venom that exists around this purchase as well, we can transform the performance. And he said, how about refuse to pay £15 for 8 Mac 3 blades, £12.95, fast free delivery. And it was, I don't know which bit worked, but it was the anchoring perhaps of, wow, 12.95. Okay, they're 15 quid usually, and this is only 12.95. It was remarkable. We got their cost per acquisition down to £3 from £12. That means that business was breaking even on month 3, not month 12
Yeah.
in this subscription game. So it was a pretty profound impact, and that was day one. And I was thinking, okay, there's something interesting here. If we can layer on this incredible insight into human behavior on top of great technology, then we get Algorhythm, right? And that's what
Yeah.
led me to launch that business 5 or 6 years later.
Yeah. I think it's super interesting. So then, with a little bit more with what you do in the SEO side, because again, I think that's something our clients are always really interested in. They don't always know much about it. I think I'd probably be interested to find out from you what you think, like the common mistakes or assumptions people still make about SEO, as in you've got to flood your metadata with keywords, or
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
what's the common misconceptions?
So one thing that hasn't changed is SEO, and now AI is actually about good content strategy,
Yeah,
right? And then good UX, a good user experience. So the first mistake people make is producing content for a search engine or an AI tool, an LLM.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, there's still a human nervous system that's going to be the end of that content, and you want them to buy something from you or buy into what you're talking about. So that's the first misconception. It's weird for an SEO to say, but if there's ever a conflict between SEO and content, the human has to always win. The sort of UX experience has to always win. And it's been proven time and time again that Google is rewarding that good user experience and that useful content, and that's becoming even more critical. I mean, cramming keywords, I still see clients using meta tags and just dumping in a load of keywords. Google's actually ignored that for years now, probably
yeah,
coming up to 7 or 8 years. So cramming keywords just does not work. The other thing that people forget is that the sort of caps, if SEO was a pyramid and the on-page technical bit is the base, and then you got meta signals and number of backlinks, there's still a popularity contest. The capstone is things like your analytics. So it's conversion rates, dwell time, how many pages a customer goes on your website, how long they stay on your website is all really important. And if you aren't writing for that customer
yeah.
and you're just writing for a search engine, that's gonna, you know, shackle you a little bit and hold you back. So
So Google's monitoring those things, is it?
absolutely, it's all part of those signals that go. I mean, the biggest, and again, despite what Google are very smart, as we would
Yeah,
expect, and they've been denying lots of things for many years. Like, there's no such thing as domain authority. That's made up by SEO tools. It's made up by Ahrefs or Moz or whatever. And then there's the big leak about how the algorithm works, and they called it something different. So technically, there's not a domain authority, but you called it domain markers or something,
Yeah.
but it's the same
Need a
thing. Come
port
on,
of your
guys. Yeah,
website.
yeah, absolutely. And then the other big misconception that we face every day is that backlinking doesn't work.
Yeah.
Don't buy backlinks. Google will penalize you. The biggest one, don't use AI. If Google was going to penalize people for using AI tools, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be investing billions of dollars into
No.
developing AI tools, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I've said this jokingly in the past, but our leaders of the future are going to be touch typers and proofreaders, and I
Yeah.
genuinely believe that you must have a human before you churn out content that ChatGPT gives you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, of course you do. But you're not going to be penalized for using AI content. We're being urged and flooded with new tools every single day. So
Yeah.
harness it, but
Yeah.
do it in the right way, and just have UX and useful content as your sort of guiding light or north star, and you can't go wrong. And
Yeah.
then the last one is just let's write about everything and just churn it out and hope. It's kind of like self-publishing in the 90s, where don't bother with an editor, just pay to have your own book published and
Yeah.
expect to become a New York Times bestseller. It's probably not going to work. There's existing channels and methodologies we have to follow, and just churning out blog content with no sort of strategy or methodology around it is, well, you're talking to an empty room,
Yeah.
or your own people or
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So
So if like an architect came to you and said, right, we want to sort of rank Google first page for either, that location, wherever they're in, or
yeah.
high-end housing or things like that, what would your be approach? So is it usually SEO first, then paid, or is it, I don't know how you prioritize in terms of those sort of areas. What?
That's a great question. And so if you think about, and we're just talking about search here, obviously,
Yeah.
but if you think about that first page of Google as real estate,
Yeah.
um, it's and the prime real estate is the top above the fold and in those top three organic positions. And we get obsessed with, you'll hear SEOs talking about first page of Google and the top three.
Yeah.
And the reason is 75% of clicks take place on that first page.
Yeah.
29% of those clicks are probably to that first organic slot. Only 6% of people click on paid ads.
I was going to say, because
Yeah.
nowadays you have like two or three paid maps, don't you, usually, and then organic. Or
Well,
is
now
it
you have AI overviews above all of that
AI and the
sometimes.
Gemini
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
overview? Yeah.
You might get images.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
the
So that
organic is still doing, like the first sort of organic, which is halfway down the page, is still doing pretty well.
still doing really well. Now, AI overviews have created this concept called zero click search, where
Yeah.
people get their answer from the AI, so don't even click through to a website, which is a nightmare for marketers. We're like, oh no, we
Yeah.
can't track anybody if no one's clicking on stuff. So that is definitely eroding. I think that's sort of the sort of standard reporting is
Yeah.
up to 30% of clicks are
Yeah.
disappearing.
It's usually got referral links, isn't it, in each paragraph, but where and how, whether they're linked to anywhere near those sort of first pages, I don't know.
Well, that's the first, like, that's the game I'm in now, because I have clients that we have ranking number one in Google, and
Yeah.
yet aren't being discussed in the AI overview at all, and that's Google's tool. Yeah, and then I ask it all the time. I ask Gemini, because I talk to all the AIs like they're people, because
Yeah.
when they do take over, I'm hoping they look after the good ones that were polite.
Still saying please.
Yeah,
Someone
yeah,
I was chatting to someone where they said, yeah, the people saying please and thank yous is costing like the
yes,
LLM companies.
billions in processing power. Yeah, cost billions in processing power. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah. So let's go back to the architect. So the really important bit is seeing that first page of Google as real estate. And so if you're not in that first page for SEO or in the AI overview, paid is a great way to sort of leapfrog the queue, right? So if you can pay to be in the first position at the top of the page in a paid ad, we understand most people aren't going to click on it, but a lot of people will.
Yeah.
It's a great way to sort of, what's the game we used to play? Leapfrog,
Yeah.
over your competitors. So there's a pace for play, there's a quick and dirty way. And we have a lot of clients who are saying, why are we bidding on our brand terms when we rank number one anyway?
Yeah.
I don't want people paying on the paid ad if they're an existing customer or they already know about us, but that's fine. But again, if we think of it as real estate, and we're in an ad and we're number one organically and we're in an AI overview and one of our images is in there and we're in the map pack,
Yeah.
we're squeezing out 6 competitors from that first page where 75% of all of the clicks are coming. So
Yeah.
it can be defensive. So if I was an architect, first thing I'm looking at, and the first thing we do, is audit that ecosystem. What's happening now? Who is number one? And then usually the things that we need to optimize. And the interesting thing with architects, and not always, is they're very location based.
Yeah.
So the trade, that the art is
like
exactly. So the map or the map pack or the Google My Business is a great place to start with optimization. Is that up to date? Have you got reviews in there? All that kind of stuff. How do you appear in a map? Architecture is probably not one of the things people are looking at like on a mobile device like they would a restaurant or a hotel, but still the map is kind of important. Then I'm looking at what signals the website is giving the search engines to place them. What are they about? Who are they looking after? What sort of things are they, what businesses are they working with? What are they building? That kind of stuff. And we optimize for that. And then consider paid in the mix. If you want leads now, because SEO is a long game, it's not something you can turn on or turn off. And we had a cracking question the other day from a senior sales guy at a big tech company. ChatGPT told me this. How do we update ChatGPT? It's like it's not a directory listing. It's taking all of these signals, and the real danger is because they weren't producing the right content. There's also disinformation in ChatGPT.
Hallucinates.
Well, it was suggesting that their core product wasn't a core product and had limited functionality, which is the opposite of the truth or reality. And it was getting that because it was reading competitors' comparison pages that were saying that's rubbish and we're great. But that's how ChatGPT was forming the narrative. So that's the real danger of not being in the mix.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? And would you say, do a lot of clients want to rank for like multiple keywords, or do you try and keep them focused?
Yeah, they want to rank for all of them. But the reality is you need to get to a short list. And this is where paid can come in and give you some really interesting insight, because you want to rank for keywords that drive business. Traffic is a little bit of a vanity metric, really. Even rankings. We get a lot of customers obsessed with first position rankings. I've told the story a lot, but in one of my first SEO gigs about 15 years ago was for a teeth whitening product. And I'm like the worst poster boy for my clients, like Gillette Mac 3 with my yellow teeth. Yeah, my first product was a teeth whitening product. And they were obsessed with the term teeth whitening, and it had 10,000 searches a month. And so they'd optimized the whole website around that. And I said, this is great, but guess what? There's 100,000 searches a month for yellow teeth. So, people are looking at the problem, not your solution. So, do you want 100,000 searches or 10,000 searches a month? So they had to sort of, of course you can do both, but use PPC where the beautiful thing with pay-per-click or paid advertising, particularly in search, is you only pay when someone clicks on your ad. So you can go really broad with keywords, hundreds and thousands of them, and see which ones lead to leads or opportunities or deals. And then that should give you a signal. Okay, these are the ones we should be focusing on organically, because these are the ones that are actually driving business. The rest is a little bit of a vanity metric in terms of traffic and stuff. So I try and get them down to about 3 to 5 primary keywords, and then around that there's something called intent. And it's like, Google's really smart. So nowadays it would probably show someone bidding on teeth whitening to someone that's searching about yellow teeth. Google's very smart, so it's got very clever. So you kind of look at what are the other ways people could be searching for this keyword, what are the other topics, and then what we try and do is have content on those other keywords that point to this page that we've optimized to try and sort of drive that up and give as much information as possible.
All right. And so and then the other thing you've mentioned, I think before, was long tail keywords.
Yeah.
And is that then something different?
Yeah. I mean, it just means it tends to be more question based and a lot longer. So, you
Yeah.
know, if people just put in yellow teeth or teeth whitening, back to my example, that would be really useful, but they don't. They say, what do I do about yellow teeth? And that will show a different set of results to the people that have optimized for yellow teeth. So you need to think about, and with AI now, it's all about questions. You know,
Yeah.
the LLMs and ChatGPT is a question engine really, and it's trying to give us information. So how do we turn our content into more question and answer based? And they call it tokenization of content. Like that, the latest thinking is a paragraph shouldn't have more than 80 words in it because AI will just ignore it.
Yeah.
And position is important. Have the important questions at the top of the content, and you know, chunk it into or tokenize it into questions and answers, and use schema for FAQs and how
Yeah.
tos and things. So
I need
all
to.
of
What
that.
is scheme? You're going to have to tell me what
Yeah.
schema
Okay.
is.
So schema is a bit like in SEO we talk about meta signals, which are things
Yeah.
in the HTML, so in the code of the page that isn't necessarily what the user is experiencing. You know, the
Yeah.
UX and the beautiful layout of your website and all of the wonderful imagery. Obviously, the algorithms don't see that; they just see your code.
Yeah.
Schema is a way of organizing content on a page. It's often invisible to the user, but things like author schema. So, you know, Alex Ellis is the author. Here's a link to his social profiles. This is what he knows about and what he's an expert in. Because
Okay.
that's building, and I see a lot of that's one of the first things we look for is all of your amazing blog content has no author and no date. So, and guess what? The most up to date, refreshed, you can have evergreen content that's 5 years old as long as you've refreshed it recently
Okay.
and authored it to somebody who's an expert in this field,
Yeah.
is much more likely to get picked up by ChatGPT or a
Yeah.
search engine than, you
And
know,
so it's worth, yeah, looking at old dates and just refreshing them.
change one line,
Yeah.
you know, or update a link to a newer blog post, and then update the refresh date. So it's last modified is the technical
Yeah.
schema term, but all of this can sort of live. Well, so we just done an experiment recently with a client who had all of the schema in place, but not on page, and it wasn't seem to be having an impact. So because we know the algorithms are rewarding user experience as well, it was probably thinking, well, that's not useful to the if you're not showing who authored it and when it was published, that's not useful to a user. So you know you need to do
Yeah.
both. You know, but there's some schema is completely invisible in the content. Other stuff like FAQ schema, this is dynamite because it's telling ChatGPT or Perplexity or
Yeah.
Gemini, whoever, here are important questions and answers, and I've structured it for you as a question and answer. You know,
Yeah.
your style sheet has to take that and display it on page somehow. So there is a dev challenge, but
Yeah.
dynamite for
Yes.
ranking in
There's
ChatGPT.
quite a bit of background work that goes into that. So coming on to, let's chat about the rise of the machines,
Yeah.
and what that's impacted. So do you think, is it going to be, how would you say it, like AIO now instead of SEO, or SEO and AIO, or combined?
Seen GEO, generative engine optimization. I've seen AIO.
Yeah.
I've seen SBO, which is like search brand
Need to buy
optimization.
those domains.
A lot of the fundamentals are the same as
Yeah.
SEO, but a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah.
Um, for me, it's anthropology, it's behavior,
Yeah.
it's how are our customers now using technology. And I remember back in the day when I started in digital, we were still talking about how many households had a dial-up modem, you know,
Yeah.
and it was like 20-30%, and eventually everyone's going to have internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
But what changed, what the internet did in terms of our path to conversion is it changed our behavior. So we didn't have to go and speak to salespeople anymore. We don't have to go and speak to an architect anymore
No.
to get our research. We can do that research ourselves because of the internet and all of that information. So by the time we get to the sales point, or the point of purchase, we're really well researched. We know all the competitors, we know all the product features. It can be annoying. We're telling an architect how to do their work,
Yeah.
but well, it completely changed how consumers behave.
Yeah.
All that AI is doing is it's moving the research phase out of search engines and into these new tools like ChatGPT. So
Yeah.
we just have to understand that path to conversion
Yeah.
as marketers. It's the biggest anthropological challenge marketers have faced since mobile, computing power in the internet in the palm of our hands when everything went mobile.
Yeah.
It's just another huge shift in behavior.
Yeah. And is that question coming up a lot for you now in terms of I guess before it was, how do you get me on Google page one? And is it now it's like, I'm not showing up in Chat or
Yeah.
Claude or Perplexity. And I did read, you created a really nice playbook, haven't you? Which if I could do it, I'd say like click here, but I won't, but it'll be, I'll put the link
Yeah.
somewhere. I'll work out how to do that one day. So that's really nice if people go to your website and find that. And then you've done that blog, haven't you? But I guess it's sort of
Yeah.
yourself.
So that was an experiment, yeah. So I wanted to talk about how to optimize, around the concept of why isn't my beautiful content appearing in ChatGPT, or why aren't my blog posts appearing in ChatGPT? So I produced a blog post in WordPress, which is challenging for SEO, but good, but not as simple as a fully owned sort of ecosystem. And in that article, as I explained how to do these things, particularly with meta and author tags and things like that, I'd invite the user to go and look at my code, view the source of the page, because you can see how I've done it with meta. And I wanted to add value and sort of explain my thoughts, but at the same time, it was an experiment to see if it would have an impact. And within 5 days, I was number one in Google. So if we Googled why aren't my blog posts appearing in ChatGPT, I was number one in
Yeah.
Google. I was number one in the AI overview, and I got a further 4 or 5 source links in the expanded AI overview.
In Gemini, in the Google one.
In the AI overviews, and then a few days later, I was referenced in ChatGPT Pro itself, which is fantastic. So that took 5 days. I don't know where I am now because this was about 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
But I think I'm still in the AI overviews, and I'm still number one in
Yeah.
Google for
So it's
that.
quite quick. So the LLMs, because before they'd say, oh, they're based on sort of 3 months, but I think they've caught up now, have they? Do you think they're referencing
Yeah.
pretty quickly?
So Gemini is real time, and it's because it's Google's algorithms, right? So it's incredibly responsive and quick.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, we would always say, oh well, it was frozen in 2024, but that's not true anymore of ChatGPT either. That could do some real time stuff. So yeah, it's about what we're trying to do. We've spent, I don't know, SEO's been around, 15, 20 years now, I guess. Yeah, I think the first algorithm update was about 2001. So we've been around 20 odd years, SEOs, and we're still trying to decode or reverse engineer the algorithms.
Yeah.
The same for the LLMs, and it will change, it will shift.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep pace now with what will soon be a super intelligence. That's the
From where we
scary
are,
thing, right?
well, where's it gone in 24 months? Like I said,
Yeah.
it's mad. It was like, I can't remember if we were at the same thing, but it was all about Web 3.0 and, metaverse and things like that. And then that's just gone. It's like
NFTs, that was the future, wasn't
NFTs.
it?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
sat on all
Yeah.
the NFTs now.
Yeah. If I can't remember the king, I can't remember which king it was, but it's a bit like the king that sat down in front of the ocean and commanded the tide not to come in, right?
Yeah.
I've chatted to agency owners that don't have a folder in their bookmarks called AI tools yet. And it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
This is not a fad.
No.
This is existential. Let's not get into Roman Yaplansky's 99.9% certainty is going to wipe out the human race.
Yeah.
That's the real existential threat.
Yeah.
But of course, we're seeing, if you're not talking to your customers about the AI tools you are using as an agency and helping them navigate it, then there's a real risk you won't be around in a couple of years. That's the sort of general
I think
feeling.
everyone's got into the balance of, like I said, we're all kind of on top of it, or like you said, some of us are, and it's great opportunity, and either internal, external, and helping clients with it. And you're sort of seeing where the LM. I think most people are sort of seeing where they are now and comfortable with that, and what they can do brilliantly, what they can't do, where they hallucinate, and the fact that you still got to come back to human copy or fact check and things like that. But it'll speed up some of the sort of more mundane processes, which is great. But hopefully, it'll be more around being agile, relationship based, and having a really good understanding of what you've got to deliver for your clients. And I guess all marketing, we've evolved, in the PR world, we've evolved from sort of print media, to sort of more self-publishing, digital PR, digital marketing. Even in the 10 years, I've been in it 20 years, but 10 years of Macbeth Lankester, it's evolved so much. Used to have these books of sort of press and used to have like media cuttings coming through in the post of cut out newspapers.
Yeah, I remember.
Like spray gluing onto cardboard to present to people, and things have moved. And so I think you've got to be positive and opportunist with it and look forward to it. And that's what I think we're trying to do. I think, if you bury your head and just be like, no,
Yeah, I think the creatives and our PR is absolutely in that creative space.
Yeah.
Word art.
Yeah.
It's so important because it's people to people.
Yeah.
Is going to become the most important thing that we talk about,
Yeah.
people to people. And there's a real danger that, LinkedIn's already becoming a bloody AI drivel engine, and it's squeezing people out,
Yeah.
It's it's existential. My real worry is that, bit like with sat nav, I've driven to the airport 1,000 times. I can't tell you how to get there if I didn't have a sat nav, right? And my real worry with ChatGPT is that we're letting it do the thinking for us. It's not even go and do the research and present to me the research so I can do the reasoning. We're saying go and do the research, suggest a strategy, and then we just go and do it.
Yeah.
So it's becoming the sat nav for information, and that is the real danger.
Yeah.
And it will go full circle. There's no doubt AI is already is doing incredible things and with tasks and making things efficient. But
I think it will consolidate. At the moment, everyone's trying to sell you a different tool for every single different aspect, which all basically runs off a couple of the LLMs. But
it's the gold rush, isn't it? It's
I think
the
there'll be a
guy selling the
consolidation of somewhat, VHS Betamax. Someone's going to come through, and it'll kind of do everything, And I think I was interesting. Someone said I was at a seminar, and someone said, actually, what they're finding with the AIs already, the best sort of generation using it is kind of like the Generation X and the millennials, who can sort of see the flaws in it or see when it's hallucinating or anything. But the younger generations are taking it as fact. So they're just like putting it in, going, yeah, great. And the content creating, people are looking at it going, well, hang on, I don't think half of this is true. But they're just like, they're taking it as fact. And so if that's starting now, that is, like you said, the danger of skill loss and things like that. But I think
there's a great post.
Yeah.
There's a great post yesterday, and it was a tech leader whose intern emailed him and said, "Oh, yeah, sorry to bother you. This might have been brought up already, but have we tried increasing revenue?"
Yeah.
And the guy's like,
"Cheers, thank you."
That's amazing. If only we thought about that, But obviously, the kid had been into
how can I improve
AI
business?
What's the best strategy for a new business? Try improving revenue,
Yeah, can you get more money into the business?
It's dangerous. Yeah, someone the other day shared they asked Gemini, when is payday this month?
Yeah.
Gemini came back with, it's going to be Thursday the 30th because the 31st is a Friday. Therefore, the last working day of the month is Thursday. So what are you talking about? So if it's that sort of drivel has been
dangerous,
considered to wrote, and just published, they're in real trouble.
No, but like you said, it'll keep getting better, and people will learn how to use it, and that's quite exciting. I think, like I said, do you think paid will come?
Paid is already. The channels now are quite remarkable in terms of the AI. So if you're in Meta working on an ad, your creative team have spent a couple of weeks putting together this beautiful assets,
Yeah.
and copywriters have been crafting this stuff. You upload it and Meta just says, oh, we've done 15 other assets for you and we've animated them.
Yeah.
Just tick the ones you want to go live, and here's 25 alternate headlines. So
Yeah.
our responsibility is to say, okay, clients, like, we think these half of these are rubbish, but
Yeah.
some of these are pretty good. What do you think? These are quite, but it's just bombarded. I mean, Google now has AI Max, an approach where you're really just letting the algorithm do what it wants. And they're even talking about wordless matching in Google, not even using keywords. So just based on all of the signals it has, it
Yeah.
knows you're looking for an architect. So it's going to show you this architect's ads if they're running AI Max, even if you haven't looked for an architect. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
They're preparing for running ads in Gemini. That's
Yeah.
what they're preparing for. Because, of course, it's semantic and intent driven. And if someone's in Gemini Pro asking about architects in their local area and who are the best, which architects have the best reviews, we should be able to run some ads into that platform. That's coming. So they're already telling advertisers or agencies, if you want ads to be appearing in Gemini,
Yeah.
needs to be broad match, and you need to be using AI Max already. So they're not stupid. They're great at making money, Google, and then they're not going to give up the opportunity. It's whether ChatGPT does that. Will Chat and Perplexity. Don't know
Yeah.
if you've used Manus before. Have you heard of
Which one?
Manus.ai? Manus,
No.
Manus. It's my
No, it's kind of
favorite.
like we've played around with Grok, Chat, Claw,
Yeah.
Perplexity, those ones, but no, I haven't heard that
What I
one.
like about Manus, and actually, to be fair, Gemini Pros does this now as well, and I think Claude does this. But with Manus, you can ask it a question, and it will open up a little screen and show you its thinking, and it will show you it opening up a web page, reading some copy,
Yeah.
going to the source code, pulling it back. It shows you its thinking, and you can then move the slider back and forth to any bit like this
Uh,
tool we're using to record this
yeah.
session. Very, very clever. But I just love that. Here's the sources and why I'm recommending
Yeah.
this and why I think
Yeah.
this is the right strategy.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think that's probably where I'm quite excited about the AI is that to a certain extent, I think it is bringing a resurgence to PR and marketing and some of the stuff you do into the SEO is like you've got to be in the right places. You've got to have human content that's engaging, that is genuinely of interest. It can't just be crap. And it's got to be in the right places. It's not just about bombarding your own website. You've got to be out. And hopefully, because in our world, like there's some amazing magazines and journalists, and they've just been hammered, over the sort of last 10 years. And I'm hoping that, you've got like the likes of building magazine, construction news, these sort of ones. And I'm hoping there'll be like a big resurgence for them because everyone will realise actually, I do want the journalists, authored, sort of really highly regarded people writing about us again and things like that.
And it's really important, by the way. So these citations and like your experts being referenced or interviewed in tier one publications or tier two publications helps your sort of authority and trust of your website. So
Yeah,
it's it's more important than ever, in fact, to have that external. You can't live in your own little universe of your
no,
website. You have to expand beyond that, and
yeah.
that's why you still need PR and you still need agencies to help you get that
Yeah,
stuff.
and I think that's not, and I think that's the biggest opportunity that's coming back, which had sort of 5-6 years ago started to sort of everyone had just gone insular. We'll just do our own channel marketing and things like that. So I
Yeah.
think that's a really nice one to sort of look at. So final question now is, what's your foresight? What's your what you call it, third eye telling you where's it going? What does 2 years time look like?
Yeah. So, well, as controversial as it gets, I guess, in my world, most people
Yeah,
be like, that's not, who cares? But everyone's asking about the battle of the LLMs in the sort of search engines and this kind of stuff.
yeah,
I believe browsers are going to be a thing of the past.
yeah,
This You know, if we think we're still going to be using these tools the way we are now, screens may be a thing of the past. You know,
Yeah.
I think we're heading to an augmented world. You know, we're starting to see that with these glasses and
Yeah,
things. And
so I see more and more Meta glasses and the Ray-Ban.
yeah,
I haven't tried them yet.
so I doubt there was. I can't remember the name of it, which is terrible. But I'm playing with a new AI tool now that has a desktop app. So I'm not even in a browser at all.
No.
So I do think Google will eventually, well, not eventually, in the next 2 years, if not sooner, will just become one giant LLM,
Yeah.
and it will, Google doesn't want to have to rely on browsers because it can control Chrome because it owns it, but it doesn't control the others.
No.
They're going to become their own things, So we're going to move away again, thinking about the anthropology of users. We're not going to be in browsers. We're going to be
No.
doing something else. So that's my prediction. But AI is not slowing down.
No.
Like I said, proofreaders and people that can touch type will be our leaders in the
Yeah.
future. But we have to just, and I think we'll go full circle. It'll become person to person is going to become the most
Yeah. And that's it. I
sought
think
after.
relationships will come back to a certain extent.
Yeah,
I wrote an article on, actually a way to cut through the noise is just being authentic. So I'm like, just go back to real conversational style marketing so people know it's your voice and actually you'll start to like stand out
yeah.
and cut
Because you
through.
can spot the chat GPT generated LinkedIn post a mile away, can't you?
Yeah.
Or
It's when you
articles
get the
now.
ChatGPT LinkedIn comment to comment.
Yeah, that's it. They've automated
Yeah.
the whole. If one more person like looks at my profile, likes one of my posts, then sends me a connection request,
Yeah.
come on, guys. We know there's these sort of
Yeah.
sales navigator plugins that
It's,
can deal with this kind of stuff. It's not
yeah.
authentic at all.
No.
It's the reason I'm Justin John Thorne on LinkedIn, by the way, is anytime I get a message that says, "Hi, Justin John," I know it's
Well,
automated and I insta delete it. Yeah. So I'll read it if you say, "Hi, Justin." I'm like, okay, well, at least he's not using or she's not using you
yeah.
know,
The
I was
JJ.
going to date myself then and say a mail merge tool.
Yeah.
That was like 1989, wasn't it?
Mail merge was probably some of the highest risk, scariest things I used to do because you had to build it in Word, then just hit go, and it just go,
I,
and you'd be like, I've got
I have
no idea.
I have an amazing story. So I was working for a major bank in the marketing team, and someone didn't change the joke mail merge before it went off to the fulfillment house, and we wrote to every high net worth customer, "Dear rich bastard."
I know that was terrible.
Yeah, and it went out to like 2,000 of the highest net worth customers the bank had. Some thought it was hilarious
Yeah,
and appreciated it. Some closed their bank accounts. It was crazy.
I know.
But yeah, those were the days, wasn't it? The mail
Yeah,
merge
the
days.
fear
Yeah,
factor was real back then of what you were every time you're going to click we used to, sign off on, 200, 300,000 printed posters that you were like,
yeah,
sending out or things like that. And
yeah,
you're like, no one look at it. I don't want to see a typo or, it was a classic. No, we did a lot of consultation. So you're just terrified there was going to be a pubic consultation in there instead of the public consultation, which was the classic error that
nice.
you
Yeah.
you'd see. You always just hoped it was another agency, not yours. But yeah, okay. Final question, and then I'll let you go because a lot of people don't know that you and I are book nerds as well. What are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading that the AI sort of super intelligence by that Roman
Oh, are you?
Yaplansky.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I don't want to sleep. I want to stay up at night worrying about the 99.9%
yeah,
certainty that we're going to get wiped out by AI.
yeah. That
But
seems like a
yeah,
high anxiety read.
yeah. And then this is not as highbrow as our usual conversations. We're usually talking about high fantasy, right? And adult
Yeah.
fantasy. But I'm reading Ozzy Osbourne's autobiography again because it's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually. That's quite a good shout because I'm just finishing a Raymond D. Feist, that sort of trilogy. So I need something like what I call a palate cleanser after that,
Yes.
something a bit more sort of simple.
Yeah.
So I think that would be.
I Am Ozzy
I
is
Yeah,
incredible. Like my
yeah,
favorite, with no spoilers, but I'll leave you with this one. The laugh out loud moment for me on the tube recently, where people think I'm a nutter because I'm listening to I Am Ozzy, was after a short stint in jail when he was 17, 18 years old. he was taught how to do his own tattoos. So he tattooed 2 smiley faces on his knees so he could cheer himself up when he's on the toilet. So, so it's that kind of
Yeah,
amazing stories to get
I
into.
feel like that would just give you ideas.
I was looking at my knees this morning, wondering if I could do with a couple of smiley faces. Actually.
Wait for that Amazon parcel to arrive with your home tattoo kit.
Just a big pen and a sharp needle, apparently, is all you need. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Well, nice one. Anyway, thank you, Justin. It's been brilliant,
My
mate.
pleasure. Yeah, good to see you.